What's good with you guys? It's Jibril, and in this video I'm going to explain why I'm grateful I'm not an African immigrant. So let's get straight to it. So one reason why I'm grateful I'm not an African immigrant is because a lot of them are sellouts and out for the black liberation. Now the reason why I call them sellouts is because they aren't here to help other black people, they're only here to help themselves. And if they had to throw their own people under the bus to save their own ass, they would. And unfortunately, a lot of these African immigrants do. Like nowadays, I'm witnessing other African immigrants build strong relationships and help other white people before getting in contact with their own people. And despite us being black, for some reason, they believe I'm different compared to them because they were born in Africa and I wasn't. In fact, the majority of these African immigrants at the very least believe that I'm less than them because I haven't been through the African struggle and I wasn't born in Africa. These are the same people that fled their country because they couldn't handle the circumstances in Africa. Instead of fighting for themselves and for their people to live better lives and more opportunities, they flee the country and allow their people to suffer. At least with Indians, when it comes to witnessing other Indians, regardless of where they're born, they view them as their own. When an Arab witnesses another Arab, they view them as their own. But I can't say that for other black people. But even when they move back to Africa, they don't even think about helping their own people. Because a lot of them are too selfish and too comfortable in the position we're in that they aren't willing to help other black people. And even when they do help other black people, they expect something from them in return. And the only time these African immigrants will actually side with black people is when they're frustrated with other white people. They probably don't even care about how other black people view them. They probably only care about how other ethnic groups view them, mainly how white people view them. So they are more focused on creating a good image for white people instead of actually being this good person. And I find it quite sad how we have more respect for other ethnic groups than our own. I'll go as far as to say that they don't even believe in racism because they haven't dealt with racism up front. Because when a lot of people think about racism, they're thinking about the Nazis. When they think about racism, they think about the KKK. I believe the main reason why a lot of these African immigrants aren't for black liberation is because they hold resentment towards other black people that they believe wronged them in Africa. I believe the black self-hatred is that strong amongst black people that black people would happily go white today. But go ask white people if they would turn black today, and I guarantee you white people would be disgusted if their skin went black. Because what these African immigrants fail to realize is how the world views us. And they view us as dumb, naive, chaotic, loud, sexually and emotionally uncontrollable, unreliable human beings. We as black people, not just African immigrants, believe that if we act a certain way, look a certain way, speak a certain way, then white people will leave us alone. But no matter how much you act a certain way, speak a certain way, or look a certain way to appeal to other ethnic groups, you can never get too comfortable with them because at the end of the day, you're still black. In fact, white people themselves don't even want you getting too comfortable with them because they don't want you switching on them all of a sudden and being a detriment to their race. White people will remind you that you are still black if you get too comfortable. African immigrants themselves view Africa in a negative light, whether they realize it or not. Like I've heard a lot of African immigrants talking about wanting to send other people to Africa just so they understand what true hardship is or so they could be disciplined. But to me, what they're implying is that Africa is basically a shithole. Like they rarely have anything positive to say. And again, you did flee the country because you couldn't take it. Now, I'm not demeaning every African, as I understand that there are Africans fighting for black liberation in Africa, and I commend them for it. I don't even hate African immigrants, nor am I trying to create a division amongst me and other African immigrants, but I believe these African immigrants need to humble themselves because their ego is through the roof. And this is why knowing your history is crucial, because I believe if African immigrants actually knew their history, which I believe they don't, then they would have a lot more respect for black people. Again, I'm not here to demean anyone, but let's not forget about how a ton of Africans were slaughtered during colonization. And the fact that other Africans gave away other Africans and enslaved other Africans, and to this day give away other Africans and enslave other Africans. Mind you, white people to this day still profit off the resources they stole from Africa. Now, this is a question for black parents. How can you allow white teachers to educate your black children on black history? and believe what the white teachers have to say about your child without any further questioning when it's been proven that even teachers themselves have a racial bias. You allow your own children to be penalized and miseducated by the white school system. And that is one of the main reasons why I believe these African immigrants, but other black people that think alike, are probably one of our biggest detriments to our black race. We lack ambition when it comes to wanting to help our own people. We don't think about wanting to create schools for our people. We don't think about wanting to create hospitals for our people. We don't think about wanting to create shops for our own people. In fact, we have other black business owners that don't even think about hiring their own people and giving other black people opportunities. Us black people as a whole, especially us black men, have become weak. And I said us because I'm in it with you guys too. We don't have black men like Patrice Lumumba wanted to remain in Africa and fight for black liberation, because we're too emotional and too selfish, and we need to stop being so emotional and so petty and just come together as one and become unified, because at the end of the day, we've only got ourselves. I believe Africa and black people as a whole could be in a much better position than we are today. Unfortunately, we are dealing with too many black people trying to find a way to bring one another down. I want Africa, which is the second poorest continent, to be the richest continent. But to me, it seems as if not a lot of black people want that to happen. So I really hope that one day we could just come together, quit being emotional, and figure out how we could better our lives. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you like, subscribe, peace, and take care of yourselves. I'm out.